The interesting thing is, I guess, bouncing back on what you were saying, is one of the main things that's sort of said by protesters as kind of evidence of of Israel's guilt is the numbers, right? So they go, oh well, you know, X amount of Jews were killed, X amount of Israelis were killed, X amount of Palestinians, and the one thing that they inevitably sort of don't bother saying is that actually, if it wasn't for the Iron Dome, right, and the rockets were actually landing, it's not the Palestinians haven't killed less people because they want to kill less people. Yeah. They have missed that sort of quite critical piece of nuance. Is actually that, you know, their rockets aren't landing because the Israeli tech is more advanced. But that is an interesting thing of the protests, which do try and whitewash the Palestinians and present them on the basis of numbers as essentially innocent victims, really, rather than anything else. That's just an interesting sort of side point.
I don't even think it's a side point. I think it's a really interesting point. It's one of the questions that I often get, and it's one of the things that people have a hard time talking about. Look, no one wants to see anybody killed.
No, of course not.
Right.
It's very unpleasant.
You know, and we both know this, but it's important also to talk about this again. It's incredibly look, if these people, if these Hamas, ISIS terrorists were real warriors and fighters who really believed in something, they'd fight us properly. They wouldn't shoot at us from heavily civilian populated areas, which is what they're doing. Again, we are sending our soldiers into the battlefield, into danger. We have all the technology to hit them out from the sky if we wanted to. We could have raised Gaza in a heartbeat. But we won't do that because we don't want innocent civilians to be killed. So we're sending our soldiers in there, surgically going from house to house. Our soldiers are dying to attempt to save the lives of innocent Palestinians who will be caught in crossfire because Hamas shoot from behind them. All these tunnel systems built underground, it's ridiculous by this point to even talk about the fact that they're shooting from UN buildings, from UNRWA buildings, from buildings of the Red Cross. They're doing this all the time. And the fact that they're not being called out on this is absolutely ridiculous. Israel is not responsible for one death in Gaza. Hamas are responsible for every single death in Gaza. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
If you want to fight us like men. Don't fight us like cowards, like sewer rats, right? Hiding under people's homes. No one wants that. An Israeli soldier wants to kill an innocent person? Never. Right? These airstrikes. Again, it's like we do everything that we can to minimize these numbers. And also these numbers, I can't tell you what the numbers are. No one can. And especially not this Ministry of Health in Gaza, right, who lie about everything. But the world loves to run after them and report their numbers as if they're gospel. You're dealing with literal terrorists, and you're buying into their numbers. Like, what the hell is going on? That how skewed morally is the world that they're not understanding what's happening here. This, I think, is what drives most of us crazy. Is that this isn't? It's not even a fair fight, right? It's absolutely ridiculous. You have a homicidal people who want to kill every single Jew, then kill all of you.
The charter.
They have it. They literally
the
wrote
original
it down.
charter. They changed the charter later on, but the '88 charter does pretty much say
but
that.
They said it, right?
You
know, their spokesperson multiple times over the last 2 months.
Multiple times.
Yes, we will carry on until we've killed every Jew. Is that what? Okay, how much more proof do you need? What, you know, and they're not. If they were successful, again, they're coming for you next. Right? It's not like they're going to stop that terror attack in Paris last week. Right? 9/11.
Brussels
a few weeks before. You know, Christmas markets all over. Dozens of terror attacks stopped in Europe over the last 2 months. Dozens. Dozens. And not just in Europe, but all around the world. Right? These people are coming for you next. This is an ideological battle. Unfortunately, it's as simple as that.
That many do not want to engage in because they prefer to ignore that it's even happening.
Correct.
Or even worse, they side with the side that's actually attacking us, not understanding that these are not our friends. It is a very bizarre world we live in.
And the point is, like, it really doesn't make sense. Like, you're in a situation today where you're trying to look at this and say, okay, well, how is this actually playing out? Right? How is it that people have been sucked into this notion that, you know, even you talk to people, they're like, whoa, it's very complicated. It's very complicated.
Yeah.
What is complicated?
Yeah.
Right? Truly, what is complicated? It's not, you know, well, Israel and the Palestinians. What are you talking about? There's 2 million Arab citizens who live in Israel, right?
Yeah.
Poll them. They've been polled all the time. Would you like to go live in Gaza? Hell no.
Yeah.
Right? Because they have freedom. The women can...
I also, they make 10 times more. I've seen the numbers.
I think way more than 10 times.
breakdown of how much they make versus how much Palestinians in Gaza make.
I think Palestinians in Gaza make an average of 57 shekels a day, which would be the equivalent of, what, like $15?
Something like that.
And Israel's a hell of a lot more than $15.
Try and find
it must be 10, if not more, times the number.
Palestinians in the West Bank make a daily wage of $37. Egyptians make a wage of $303 per month. Palestinians living in Lebanon make an average of $122 a month. And Arab Israelis make $3,268.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot more money than definitely. I mean, obviously Israel is an expensive place to live in, but
no, but still, look. The point is that Arab Israelis live side by side with us. The former government, you had ministers in the Arab ministers, Muslim Arab ministers, right? You have Muslim court justices. In fact, I think one of the Supreme Court, one of the judges in Israel who's a Muslim, put one of our former prime ministers in jail. Right.
Interesting.
You know that you have.
Yeah. You couldn't unimaginable the other way around, right?
Are you
like
kidding
a Jewish minister in Gaza putting a former.
And all this talk of that, like you see the Arabs living in Israel, and correctly so, truly correctly so, live in peace and harmony. We have good relations. We're part of each other's destiny. They fight with us in the army often.
Sure.
They serve in the police force, in the security systems. We have a wonderful and strong and powerful relationship with them. This is how we want to be with everybody. When the Abraham Accords were signed in, all Israelis flooded to the Arab countries. Israeli culture is more of an Arab culture than a Western culture.
Sure. No, I definitely agree with that. Having been to Israel,
you look at the food, the music.
Sure.
It's all heavily influenced by the majority of Israel's Jews, which come from Arab countries.
Sure, the Sephardic Jews.
The Sephardic Jews, all of whom, the vast majority of whom will run out of their countries.
Sure.
Right? So
it's about 1 million Jews who run out of the Muslim world. Yeah.
So when you look at this, you understand also immediately that there's nothing more that we honestly like to do than be amongst our neighbors in peace and harmony and friendship. We have no beef with Palestinians, so-called Palestinians, no beef at all. They have the problem with us, and this is also why the whole thing's so skewed. Like there isn't anything that would, by this point, you look at these people, and it's just jaw-dropping. That these idiots could really misinterpret this situation so heavily. They just truly, like, what?
Yeah.